Hello, everyone. I'm Randy Arrington, and welcome to episode 106 of Page Valley Living. Today, we're here in Luray on West Main Street in the Andrew Jackson School Museum to talk with Del Price and Rod Graves about a very special person who came from Page County, born in 1812 into slavery. This is the story of Bethany Veney. She grew up in Page County, was sold several times to several different masters, and finally made her way to freedom in Massachusetts. We're going to talk about the story of her life that was captured in a book called Aunt Betty's Story, a narrative she gave, and it was printed, I believe, in 1889 rather. And we're going to talk about that book and some monuments in the past few years that have been erected and unveiled in her honor. We'll also talk about a trip they made to Massachusetts for the unveiling of a new headstone at Bethany Veney's gravesite and her final resting place. We're going to talk about this very unique ancestor of Page County in a special nod to Black History Month here on Page Valley Living. We'll talk with Del and Rod in just a moment after a word from our sponsor. Hawksbill Assisted Living in Luray is now accepting new admissions. Hawksbill Assisted Living, powered by Valley Care Management, offers quality care at affordable rates, professionally trained staff, and veterans aid and attendance. Come visit Hawksbill Assisted Living, located near the beautiful Hawksbill Greenway in Luray. Call for a tour today or learn more at valleycaremanagement.com. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to episode 106 of Page Valley Living. As I said earlier, we are going to be talking about Bethany Veney, a lady who grew up in slavery here in Page County and later narrated the story of her life called Aunt Betty's Story, about her times and struggles in Page County all the way up until she was given her freedom in Massachusetts. We are honored today to have with us one of her descendants, Del Price, and local historian Rod Graves. And we're going to talk a lot about who this woman was, what she meant to her legacy in this community, and including this museum that we're even sitting in. And we're going to talk about a trip that these two made to Massachusetts to see the unveiling of her headstone. And also, I'm sure they were both there when they placed a local marker here at the Carillon Garden, at what we call the Singing Tower here in Luray. I want to thank you both so much for being with me here today. I'm going to start with you, Del. Some folks, this may be the first time they've ever heard of Bethany Veney. If they study local history, they probably heard about her many times in different ceremonies. But tell us a little bit about who is this woman and how do we know about her so that we are talking about her today?
I think that more than anything, she represents something that was very true of a lot of people in her era. She was a worker. She worked the way we know of her first. She was working as a cook and a cleaner with the people who were building the highways over on the other side of the mountain and over here. So she made her living that way, and she was also enslaved. And in her enslavement, she was making her living that way. Ended up working on the mountain on the other side of the mountain, and that's where she encountered the folks who eventually helped her to her freedom.
Right. And of course, the book we talk about here, she was born into slavery in 1812 here in Page County on the Pass Run Farm, which at the time was owned by James Fletcher. And then later on, this book was not done until 1889. And you can get a copy of this on Amazon. You can get a copy of this from the Page County Heritage Society. And Rod, we were talking before we started filming that we both have read through this several times. There's a couple of parts that I want to talk about that really grabbed me. But when you read this, and having read it several times, what is your impression of Bethany Veney?
Well, first off, I was curious about her because she's one of our own here from Page County, and to me it's a very humbling story. I can't walk in those shoes.
Right.
Most people nowadays can't. Thank the Lord.
Right.
But to me, hers was a very special story that I felt like
We got some visitors here.
that I wanted to really get out, and I read her story at a younger age, much younger age than now, when I was in my 20s, and it transformed me. I can't deny that at all. It was very, and it made me learn that history is not like we always want it to be,
Right.
Or you wish it had been.
Right.
And so there was a lot of surprises in there. And one of the greatest things in there that I found inspiring is her willingness to forgive. And she's really a hero of mine for sure. Yeah.
We're going to talk more about that moment in a moment. But there's one line, and I told Ms. Price that I was going to read this, which I think this sentence is so very telling about the horrible atrocity of slavery in our country. But think of a child. I believe at the time she's either 7 or maybe 9 years old when she has this thought. And here's the sentence. In the meantime, I was put out with an old woman who gave me my food and clothes for whatever work I could do for her. She was kind to me, as I then counted kindness, never whipping me or starving me, but it was not what a freeborn white child would have found comforting or needful. I think that's a powerful statement, Ms. Price, that, this young child hasn't even gotten to double digits yet. Their view of kindness is to simply be fed and not beaten.
Very telling, very, very telling. And what she did with that was not herself become bitter, but she became a person who could identify all her life what was right and what was wrong, and then do good. And so she consistently did good. The people she worked for, even while she was enslaved, she delivered. She washed the clothes, she cooked the food. She did what they were expecting her to do, and she did that her whole life, which is fascinating to me.
She was a woman of very strong faith. There's a story in there where she gets taken to meetings, and she listens to the message that the preacher has and wants to go back and back. And she wants to go to church so much that her master doesn't want her to go as often. He feels like, I guess it's taking away from her work. But how much do you think her faith played into her ability to endure?
It had to sustain her a great deal, because you got to remember, and her story includes the fact that her husband was sold down the road, as they say. He was sold away from her, so while she was married to him, she never saw him again. And so that meant, and they had taken him over to Sperryville, and that was the end of their relationship. So her faith had to sustain her through things like that. And I don't know that I'm that woman. I don't know that I have that ability.
And her daughter Charlotte, I believe,
That's right,
was sold away as well. She was later able to stay with her son, I believe Joe. Was able to stay with him. But you and I both have a certain part in this narrative that we noticed. I'm going to let you tell it and tell me why it affected you so much.
Are you talking about the portion where she had reached Massachusetts?
She was already in Massachusetts.
And she had got to Massachusetts by way of the family she worked for on the mountain on Stony Man that way. She ended up there working. And while she was working, she did two things. She had a boarding house, which we got a chance to see, not just one, but two. And she was very successful. At some point, a former enslaver, Mr. McKay, came to Massachusetts and sought her out, which I thought was just stunning that he would do that. And while he went to visit with her, she cooked him a meal. And then he noticed her dress attire, and he asked her, "Oh, those gloves that you're wearing, they're really lovely." And she said, "Would you like to go, do you know where you got those?" She said. He asked. And she said, "Yeah, I know. I pretty much can tell you where. I'm not sure because these were a gift to me, but let's go look." And so they did. They went looking. Turns out that they didn't find the pair that she had, but he found something that he liked. And she bought the gloves for him. I thought, what a lot of heart I don't think I would. I'm not built that way.
No,
I'm not
no,
that
Not
woman.
either.
Yeah.
The fact that she even opened her door, number one, I don't even think I would have opened my door. Then cooked a meal for him, and then on top of it, went out with him shopping to help find the gloves, and then paid for the
him.
gloves. That to me, that is the most telling thing maybe about
That's a
her
different person than
character.
I am. She's a much
Is
bigger
out there.
person than I am.
Absolutely. We've done a lot to recognize her, or done some things here in the county to recognize her. There have been things in Massachusetts. How do you pronounce that town?
Worcester, Worcester, and it's pronounced Worcester.
You gotta,
I
gotta get the R in there.
I had two college roommates who were from Massachusetts, and they would say Worcester. They were from Worcester.
Yeah.
Worcester.
It's a college town.
Yes, yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
But why is it important for us to do things like the marker and the monument out at Singing Tower?
We need to remember who we are. We have to save history, because if we don't, then we don't have a measuring stick. History is a measuring stick of who we are, who we need to be as Americans. She was a great American to me, great Virginian, and like I say, she was from here.
I think one of the really important things about this little narrative, think about how many thousands, maybe millions of stories just like hers that we don't have. You know, we often hear of one side of history, but maybe very little on the other.
Well, that was why it was important for us to include her in our museum at the Luray Valley Museum, Caverns, and really she was top of my list for that. And her story was, you know, like Dale said, when she got up to Worcester, she not only had one house that she bought and paid for with her own labors.
Right.
She's very industrious, as Dale had mentioned also, and I was amazed she bought a second house. I don't own a second house, I own a second building, but I mean, she really managed a lot, was very entrepreneurial, and obviously very capable in business and anything that she endeavored into.
Yeah.
So yeah, her story was very exciting as far as what she did with very little.
Right, right. Well, as we said, she was born into slavery in 1812 here in Page County. She would then die in 1915 at the age of 103 in Worcester, Massachusetts. And we're going to talk a little bit when we get back about also, she brought some family members up north with her after the war. And we're going to talk about that and some of the monuments and markers that have been put in place both here and in Massachusetts to honor the legacy of Bethany Veney. We'll be back with more right after this.
Whispering Pines Assisted Living is now accepting new admissions. Quality care at affordable rates, professionally trained staff, memory support, and short-term respite stays are all offered by Whispering Pines Assisted Living, powered by Valley Care Management, where home and heart meet. Call for a tour today on Leakesville Road in Luray, or learn more at valleycaremanagement.com.
Welcome back, everyone, again to episode 106 of Page Valley Livin'. A very special episode today to commemorate Black History Month, and we are in the Andrew Jackson School Museum here, which is attached to the Rec on West Main Street in Luray. And right here at this very venue, they're going to be celebrating Black History Month on February 28th from 5 to 9 p.m. Oh, let me check that. It's out at the VFW post. I'm sorry. At the VFW post out on 211, February 28th from 5 to 9 p.m. They're going to have refreshments, a 50-50 draw, a lot of different activities for kids, memories in the making when they talk about preserving history, unity in the community, and live music from Bobby G and the Heavies. That's a rhythm and authentic blues band that will be there. Again, that is the Page County Black History Month celebration at the VFW Post, February 28th from 5 to 9. We'll remind you of that again at the end of the episode. But in this segment, we want to talk about some of the things that have been done to honor the legacy and life of Bethany Veney. And we're going to start off with one here, Del, that you participated in. In November of 2022, Descendants of Bethany Veney from around the country did readings from this very book, Aunt Betty's Story, which you can get at Amazon or from the Page County Heritage Association. And the descendants would read different parts of the narrative. I'm curious, which part did you read?
I don't remember. They handed it to me, so they had they tried to manage what I might do. But
Right.
one of the things that I think is sweet, and it doesn't get acknowledged a whole lot, is that the garden is maintained by one of our local garden clubs, but the land on which it sits was donated by the Caverns,
Oh, wow.
and nobody really talks about that. So
And this is the memorial up at the Singing
Correct.
Tower. Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
And so the Bethany Veney Memorial Garden is on land that was donated by the Caverns. And so if that hadn't happened, we would have found another place. But I think that's a generosity that gets overlooked.
I would agree 100%. And I want to come right back to that garden, but I want to ask you one more question about that project in November of 2022. What was it like to be sitting there and reading the words to be preserved of your ancestor?
It was an amazing feeling. It was a very sweet feeling to have folks from all over the world. She had granddaughters, great-granddaughters from California, here, from Massachusetts, here, from all, they made the journey, one of whom is very, very sick. And so the fact that we were able in this community to finally acknowledge this particular person's journey was very, very poignant and very sweet.
Yes.
As you can tell, I get choked up about it.
Understandable.
But
Sorry.
it was a very, at the moment I was fine. I wasn't as weepy as I am right now. But it was fun too, because everybody was happy about, guess what? This lady was something else. She was a bad motor scooter.
Yes.
And that was well acknowledged and very well attended. And it was attended by people who are history buffs and genealogy buffs as well. So of all people, and I think you mentioned it briefly, the battlefield folk were there too. Isn't that fascinating?
Yes.
To have
Yes.
people from the other side of the mountain whose journey included men who built the roads up and down the highway, and who gave their lives sometimes on the battlefield. So it was a unification process when you think about it. There were people there from all parts of her story.
Right. Well, thank you very much for sharing that, because I do know that is, I'm sure, an emotional thing to have gone through. And as we said, the descendants' reading of the book, it was done as a film in November of 2022. We jump over to June 10th, 2023, and that's when an interpretive marker and remembrance garden was dedicated at the grounds of the Carillon, what we call the Singing Tower, here in Luray, across from Luray Caverns, and it was donated by the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation as part of the Long Road to Freedom project. And Rod, I know you were involved with this. You were there at the dedication, and as Ms. Price mentioned, dedicated the land. What was that ceremony like, and the emotion you felt that day?
Well, it was a great event. There's one of the greatest events of my life, I think, other than going up to Worcester.
We're going to talk about that next.
But I would be remiss if I didn't include my brother, John.
Yes. Yeah.
I talked to him about the idea with placing the marker there at our great grandmother's, shrine, if you will. It was named after Belle Brown Northcott. She was a Quaker and very much against slavery, so we felt like it was appropriate, to help mend the community where it was needed, and shine a light on her.
Yeah, and I think it is to be commended, and it is interesting too that the project was founded through the Shenandoah Valley Battlefields Foundation. So I think that's very poignant as well.
I'm former chairman and been on the the foundation for many years. It's preserved military history in the valley, and we preserve the home front and slavery and the battlefields. So it's you can't have one without the other. You can't separate those things. So and I also would be remiss if I didn't mention my wife Isabel, her research and her dedication is really great in this picture. Yeah.
Well, I want to talk now about a trip that you all made in 2024. Let's see if I have that written on this side of my notes here. October 5th of 2024, where they replaced the headstone at her final resting place in Worcester, Mass. And that had to have been an interesting pilgrimage for you.
It was, and there were so many descendants there, children, grandchildren, not children, but great-great-grands. It was just full to capacity at the grounds, and then at a function afterwards. It was a very joyful experience, and the community turned out, politicians from all over. It was like, wow, Bethany, they knew her. They really knew her.
In doing my research today, I didn't realize that, and this is before all of the recent stuff that was done about 20 years ago, Governor Mitt Romney proclaimed July 12, 2003 as Bethany Veney Day in Worcester, Mass. And you said when you went up to Worcester that it was a very unique, eclectic kind of community. Tell me about that.
I was startled when we went back to visit because Worcester, in my brain, what I remembered of it, was an industrial community. And so to go there and have so much of a focus from the community leaders, the local politicians, and state politicians involved, it told me that they had a story. They were really interested in the people of their community. And where Bethany's house was, well, she had two, but the one that I was most impressed with, looked like some of our homes here, was in an area that's working class, and they had a good, strong immigrant population. So it kind of sort of tells you that Worcester has it going on, and I didn't expect that.
Yeah. Well, what I also find interesting is that, the way she got up to Massachusetts, of course, Miss Veney was bought and sold several times here in Page County. One time pretended to be sick so she wouldn't be sold in Richmond. I don't know if you remember that story from the book, but she was eventually bought by a gentleman by the name of George Adams of Providence, Rhode Island for $775, her and her son Joe, and he would eventually free them when they got up north. And what I thought was so interesting, once she got to Worcester and kind of established herself, she started her own business, I believe, with cleaning and doing laundry and things, and then she brought 16 relatives from Page County up north.
Once the war was over, she wasted no time getting back to Virginia. And what I found fascinating reading her story was when she got to Culpeper. Was it Culpeper?
Yeah,
she couldn't wait. She's looking around. She's trying to say, I can't. Well, there are people.
She
are
was
right
4
over
hours before the bus came. She had to get out.
My people are right over that mountain. And so she talked someone, young man, into. I think I could just picture, like you're almost the Calistoga wagon you have at the museum. She got a buckboard, and she talked him into bringing her up over that mountain because she couldn't wait to see her daughter.
And they walked a lot of it too.
So she came over
Incredible.
and saw our daughter and then took them back. Up to 16 people. That's a lot of people to bring up there and take responsibility for, but that's what she did.
That is truly amazing. And I know, Rod, you told me, and even before this interview and we talked today, I remember you saying this a couple years ago when I wrote a little something about it. You said it was a very, very profound trip for you. I understand with Miss Price being a descendant, how did it affect you that deeply?
Well, the best thing in history, why I'm such a history person, is I love all histories, and they're all important because they're all connected. You can't segregate one from the other. It's all one big story.
Right.
And the personal journeys with making new friends was the best part of the whole thing. we met when we met Bonetta and her family. Wow, that was really incredible. Mm-hmm. And Isabel and I had her in our home, and you know, we had a meal with them on our front porch, and
now tell us who Bonetta is.
And then Dell, meeting her. Really, that all started with Dell, to be honest with you.
Now you said Bonetta. Tell us who Bonetta is.
Bonetta is the direct descendant of Bethany Veney.
Okay.
And she brought her sisters, and one of her nieces made good friends with Tiffany. Okay. And unfortunately, Tiffany passed away shortly after that, after we met. And but I think the greatest experience was, as always, but especially with this time, is I made new friends in places I'd never been before. I'd never been to Worcester or Massachusetts, for that matter. Right. And everybody was so friendly, and it was a great experience to see where she was, to be able to, touch the very house that she lived in,
yes.
and see the results of her labors coming from what she had come from. It's remarkable. It's absolutely remarkable.
Well, this is kind of a last question I'll ask both of you, but I'll phrase it to you. Having been involved with the marker, you made the trip to Worcester, you've read the book several times. What do you believe is the legacy of Bethany Veney?
I think that her greatest legacy is overcoming, and she loved people.
I would ask you the same question. Go ahead.
And I think that it's important to note that she, as I said before, was a forgiving person, and she's really a model citizen for this community and for Worcester.
Sure, absolutely.
And for really anywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Well, I would pose the same question to you as a descendant, having participated in the reading of the book. I know you've read the book many times. You've studied the history, and you certainly have a connection to all of this. What do you think is the legacy of Bethany Veney?
Rod said it. She's a model. She is absolutely a model of humaneness. And when all of the stuff that's going on around us now, you think about what's right, what's wrong, and you have someone overcome what she overcame to continue to live a high quality life, to be involved with her religion, to be involved with her family, to just be a good human being, given the very words that you read. That's her legacy. She's a model. Thanks, Rod, for that one.
Well, it's called Aunt Betty's Story, a narrative of Bethany Veney, a slave woman. You can get this at Amazon. You can probably contact a member of the Page County Heritage Association and get a copy as well. We hope you've enjoyed this very special episode 106 of Page Valley Livin', a salute to Black History Month. And once again, a reminder that Page County will have a Black History Month celebration out at the VFW Post 621 out there on Route 211 on the eastern edge of town. On February 28th from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., live music by Bobby G and the Heavies, rhythm and authentic blues music, and they're going to have refreshments, a 50-50 drawing, games, and all sorts of history, and lots of things there. Any proceeds, I think they do charge $1 maybe at the gate, and that's going to go to help the Andrew Jackson School Committee. They are the ones who are hosting the event. So that's coming up once again February 28th at the Luray VFW from 5 to 9. I want to thank both of our guests for being here today. If you've enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Page Valley News, and share this video with a friend as well. As always, we want to thank Eleanor Arrington for her help behind the camera and in the editing room this week. And as we end each and every episode, make sure you go down to the Page County Animal Shelter and help one of our furry friends find a forever home. For Del Price and Rod Graves, I'm Randy Arrington from the Andrew Jackson School Museum in Luray, saying enjoy that Page Valley living.